She's pregnant. I'm gonna marry her. So divorce me.
My husband brought his mistress to our house and said such things. But there was no way I would let them have their way. I resisted. Huh? Divorce? Not happening.
Huh?
Did you think I would just quietly step aside? It's a shame things didn't go according to your plan. As I watched the two of them turn pale, I burst into laughter. My name is Lauren, a 38-year-old housewife. I'm currently in a relationship with a man named Sean. We met through work, as our companies were business partners. At first, it was a professional relationship, but one day he asked me out for a meal. From there, we started to see each other as potential romantic partners. We later discovered that we were the same age and even went to the same university. Knowing that we had attended the same campus around the same time felt strangely serendipitous. After that, he regularly invited me out on dates and meals. After a few dates, we officially became a couple. It has been about 2 years since we started dating, and I find myself falling more and more in love with him. I even started to consider the possibility of marrying him. And then, out of the blue, he proposed to me.
Lauren, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. So, will you marry me?
Saying that, he handed me an engagement ring. I was overjoyed to marry the man I loved. After completing the formalities of meeting each other's families and having a wedding ceremony, we started our married life smoothly. Since I was told that I should focus on being a housemaker after marriage, I quit my job and became a full-time housewife. As a full-time housewife, I was determined to excel in housework, so I studied by watching various websites and videos. Thanks to that, I became very knowledgeable about cleaning methods, useful gadgets, and even cooking recipes. Since I cook different dishes every day, my husband is very satisfied.
This stuffed bell pepper is incredibly delicious. This sauce is amazing.
Right? I thought you would like it, Sean. Seeing my husband eating happily with a smile on his face makes me incredibly happy. Every day, I think about new menus, hoping to see that smile again. And on weekends, we go on drives or hikes together, enjoying our times together. My husband works hard and earns a good income, so even as a full-time housewife, I can live comfortably. And before we knew it, 3 years had passed since we got married. Even now, we mostly have happy days, but there was one concern. Recently, my husband's business trips have increased. He seems to be entrusted with more business trips because he is good at his job. He has at least 3 business trips per month. And when he goes on a trip, he doesn't come home for several days. Living alone with my husband, I have to spend lonely days in an empty house. Honestly, it's boring without my husband. I feel lonely and I lose motivation to cook and clean. But I can't complain because my husband's increasing business trips are due to expectations from his superiors. Besides, as a full-time housewife who relies on my husband's income, I should be grateful that his work is increasing. While convincing myself with these thoughts, I went to bed early and fell asleep.
Babe, I'm home.
Hi, honey. Good to have you back.
Here, I got your souvenir.
Thank you. It looks delicious. Whenever he returns from a business trip, he always brings me souvenirs. I brewed some tea. Delighted to see my husband after several days. This has become a common routine lately. I'm like a dog wagging his tail, excited when my husband comes home. But unexpectedly, my husband's business trip increased even more. It was very lonely, not being able to go out with him on weekends. However, something joyful happened amidst of all this.
Huh? Pregnant?
Today I went to the doctor. They confirmed that I'm pregnant. Yes, I found out that I'm pregnant.
Whoa, I'm gonna be a dad.
My husband was overjoyed, and that made me incredibly happy. We can work together as a couple to build a good family. I was filled with excitement and anticipation. However, even after the pregnancy was confirmed, my husband's business trips continued as usual. Since I was pregnant, I wished he could at least support me at home on weekends. And even during weekdays, when he was away on business trip, I was alone at home. Although my belly wasn't big yet, I couldn't help but feel anxious about being alone if something happened. Thank you for coming all the way here.
It's fine. I'm a full-time housewife, so I have free time.
My mother-in-law came to our house and supported me when my husband was on business trips. Having her with childbirth experience and excellent housekeeping skills by my side was very reassuring. My parents live in a different state, and it's not easy for them to come and go easily. That's why I'm truly grateful to my mother-in-law.
I'll help you.
And make sure you can have a peaceful time until the delivery.
That will be a good help. Thank you so much.
I was happy that my in-laws were so kind. I often hear stories about conflicts between daughter-in-law and mother-in-law, but I didn't have any of those issues. Time passed, and I finally gave birth. A beautiful baby girl came into this world, and she was incredibly adorable.
Well, here she is. Oh, she's so cute. Good job, Lauren.
Yeah, she's our baby. My husband was also delighted by our daughter's birth. We both decided to do our best in raising our child. But sadly, after that, my husband's business trips continued, and he was often away from home. As a first-time parent, I felt extremely anxious without my husband nearby. Recognizing my anxiety, my mother-in-law came to my aid once again.
Normally, when a baby is born, I think the company should consider various things.
She spoke up, supporting me. Her presence had become a significant support for me. Without her, I wouldn't have been able to remain as calm as I did. I think I would have been overwhelmed by anxiety and taken it out on my husband. But even with my mother-in-law's support, my frustration towards my husband continued to grow. And then, there was a moment when I couldn't hold back any longer, and I erupted.
I have a business trip scheduled for about 4 days, starting next Thursday.
I think that conversation was the trigger.
Again? Why do you have so many business trips?
I suddenly raised my voice, surprising my husband.
What? It's work. There's nothing I can do about it.
My husband responded, looking annoyed by my remark. It was a shock for me that he wore such an exasperated expression when I wanted us to have more time together as a couple. And amidst all that, I saw something I never expected. It happened while my husband was in the bath. Usually, he would take his phone with him to the changing room, but that day, his phone was left in the living room. As I gazed at my husband's phone, a message from an unknown person suddenly appeared on the screen. I couldn't help but look at it, and it made me uneasy. There, the name Hazel appeared, someone I didn't recognize. Could this possibly... I had a very unpleasant feeling. When my husband finished his bath and came out, I immediately moved away from the phone. In a rush, my husband grabbed his phone and went back to the washroom to dry his hair. It was suspicious because it had never happened before. With my husband bringing up the business trip, I finally decided to investigate him. I hired a PI, and what I discovered was unbelievable.
It seemed that my husband was having an affair during his business trips. The other person was a woman living in a different region, and she seemed considerably younger. I was shocked to learn that my husband had developed a relationship with someone else while he had our little child here. How could he betray us like this? I felt disillusioned with my husband all at once. Lauren? Are you feeling unwell? You look pale. In front of my kind-hearted mother-in-law, I couldn't help but burst into tears. What's wrong? Startled, my mother-in-law stammered as I tried to explain. Her face quickly turned red, and she seemed angry. That idiot son of mine! I can't forgive him causing you such pain. My mother-in-law stood up for me, and she proposed a certain plan. I decided to go along with it. From then on, I was able to focus on raising our child. My husband seemed oblivious to the fact that I knew about his affair. I'm sorry, Lauren. I have another business trip next week. My husband explained it as usual. I couldn't help but find his attempts to deceive me comical. I had already lost my feelings for him. Pretending not to know anything, I played the role of a housewife. My husband seemed to notice that my attitude had become cold. But since he had an affair partner, he didn't make any effort to improve our relationship. And I was 6 months into this lifestyle. One day, he returned from a business trip. My husband finally took action. Hey, Sean. Who's that woman? To my surprise, my husband brought a woman with him when he returned from the trip. The woman had the same face as Hazel, the one in the evidence photo of the affair. This is Hazel. We're in a relationship. I pretended to be shocked on purpose. Then,
It must be surprising for you to be suddenly confronted like this, right? And be introduced to a mistress. You must be shocked, aren't you?
she had a smug expression on her face, thinking I was unable to speak due to shock. And my husband, without caring about me, and said, "She's pregnant. I'm gonna marry her. So, divorce me." He brought his mistress to our home and said such things to me. Huh? Pregnant? Even I couldn't have imagined that she was pregnant. Please understand, she needs me. She's still young and can't live on her own yet. I knew from the investigation that she was still a college student. I felt a chill and disgust when I learned that my husband was having an affair with a student during his business trips. You'll be fine, right? Our relationship was practically over anyway. So divorce me and leave soon. My husband demanded it, as it were a matter of course. But I wouldn't let things go as they wished. Well, no. I'm not getting a divorce, you know? Huh? What do you mean? You heard us, right? We're having an affair. Normally, people would be furious and get a divorce, wouldn't they? Oh, did you think I would quietly step aside? Well, too bad things didn't go as planned. Anyway, I'm not getting a divorce. And of course, I'll be seeking compensation for the affair. It leaves a pretty bad impression that you are having an affair while we have an infant. The compensation is going to be quite high, I suppose. You! Oh, and Hazel, right? It doesn't matter if you were a student. The fact remains that you committed a crime. I'll be seeking compensation from you too. No! That's something I can't afford. Well, then you can have your parents cover it for you. That's impossible. I haven't told my parents anything yet. Is that so? Then I'll send a certified letter to your parents explain the situation. Also, just so you know, I was aware of your affair. and that my husband was practically living with you in your room. That can be a reason to increase the compensation. What you both have done is utterly despicable.
That's too much. You're horrible.
My condolences.
Damn it.
So, as I said, I'm not getting a divorce. But I will make sure to receive the compensation. After that, I'll leave this house and go back to my parents. But I won't get a divorce. Which means you two won't be able to get married.
This is unbelievable.
While watching the two of them turn pale, I burst into laughter. Oh, by the way, it was your mother who suggested this plan. When I told her about your affair, both your mother and father were furious. They said they no longer consider you their son and wanted to cut ties.
That's gotta be a lie.
Well, why don't you contact them and find out? I don't know they'll respond, but go ahead.
What does this mean? We're not getting married? Do I have to raise the baby all by myself?
Hazel seemed quite shaken. Maybe you'll have to bow your head to your own parents and ask for help with raising a child.
That's impossible. They'll never forgive me, I'm sure.
Well, that's your problem then. Anyway, that's how it is. I'll be going back to my parents. I started packing my belongings as I said that. My husband and his affair partner was sitting there, pale-faced and slumped. Afterwards, through my lawyer, I demanded compensation from my husband and his affair partner. Thanks to an excellent lawyer who assisted me, I received a good amount of compensation. As for my husband, news spread at his workplace that he impregnated a college student while leaving his newly born child and wife behind on fake business trips. However, he couldn't quit his job because he had to pay the hefty compensation, spousal support to me, and child support to his affair partner. He was also disowned by his parents and is currently living a lonely and harsh life, it seems. As for the affair partner, I don't know what happened to her. Since she's still a college student, she might make more mistakes, but I hope she reflects on herself and becomes a good mother. As for me, I've returned to my parents' house and started working as an office clerk in a small local company. I occasionally keep in touch with my in-laws and show them my daughter's face. I'm very grateful to my mother-in-law who suggested this plan. Seeing both the affair partner and my husband suffer the consequences, I'm thinking about getting a divorce and becoming a single mother. I believe I can raise my daughter well, even on my own. Just by being born into this world, my daughter is a strong child. I will trust in ourselves and move forward, living our lives together.